Book of Heaven, Volume 12, Part 14. September 3rd, 1919. Fusing oneself in Jesus balances the reparations. I was lamenting to my sweet Jesus about my poor state, and how I have remained like a useless being who does no good. So what is the purpose of my life? And my lovable Jesus told me, "My daughter, the purpose of your life is known to me, and it is not up to you to investigate it. Know, however, that your mere fusing yourself in me every day, and several times a day, serves to maintain the balance of all the reparations, because only the one who enters into me and takes from me the origin of everything she does can balance the reparations of everyone and of everything. She can balance the glory of the Father on the part of creatures, because since in me there is an eternal origin, an eternal will, I was able to balance everything. Satisfaction, reparation, and complete glory of the Celestial Father on the part of all. So, as you enter into me, you come to renew the balance of all the reparations and of the glory of the Eternal Majesty. And do you think this is little? Don't you yourself feel that you cannot do without it, and that I do not leave you, if before I do not see you fuse yourself in all my single parts, to receive from you the balance of all the reparations, as you substitute in the name of the whole human family? Try as much as you can to repair me for everything. If you knew how much good the world receives when a soul, without a shadow of personal interest, but only for love of me, rises between heaven and earth, and united with me, balances the reparations of all. September 13th, 1919. One must die to one's own life in order to live of the life of Jesus. My bitternesses grow, and I do nothing but lament to my always lovable Jesus, saying to him, "Pity, my love, pity. Don't you see how I have reduced myself? I feel I have no more life, nor desires, affections, or love. All of my interior is as though dead. Ah, Jesus, where in me is the fruit of your many teachings?" While I was saying this, I felt my sweet Jesus near me, binding me over and over with strong chains. And he told me, "My daughter, the surest sign and the seal of my teachings in you is that you feel nothing of your own. And besides, isn't the living in my will precisely this, to lose oneself in me? How can you go searching for your desires, affections, and other things, if you have lost them in my will? My will is immense, and it takes too much to find them. And in order to live in me, it is befitting to live no longer of one's own life. Otherwise, you show that you are not happy to live of my life, and completely lost in me." September 26, 1919. Effects of the state of victim. I do nothing but lament to my lovable Jesus. And blessed Jesus, making himself heard, told me, "My daughter, the one who is victim must be exposed to receiving all the blows of divine justice, and must feel within herself the pains of the creatures, and the rigors that these pains deserve from divine justice." Oh, how my crushed humanity moaned under these rigors! Not only this, but from your state of privation and abandonment, You can see how creatures are with me, and how divine justice is about to punish them with more terrible scourges. Man has reached the state of complete madness, and with madmen, the hardest lashes are used. And oh, my Jesus, my state is too hard. If I did not have the enchantment of your will that keeps me as though absorbed, I don't know what I would do. And Jesus, my justice cannot take satisfaction from two. This is why it keeps you as though suspended from those pains of before. But since, when I wanted you to put yourself in this state, there was also the concourse of obedience, now obedience wants to still keep you in it. And this is why it continues. However, this is always something before divine justice, that the creature wants to do her part. You, however, do not move in anything, and then you shall see what your Jesus shall do for you. October 8th, 1919. Effects of confidence in Jesus. Continuing in my usual state of pains and of privations, I spend it with Jesus almost in silence, all abandoned in him, like a little girl. Then my sweet Jesus, making himself seen in my interior, told me, "My daughter, confidence in me is the little cloud of light in which the soul remains so enveloped as to make all fears, all doubts, all weaknesses disappear from her, because confidence in me not only forms for her this cloud of light that enwraps her completely, but feeds her with opposite foods that have the virtue of dispelling all fears, doubts, and weaknesses. In fact, confidence in me dispels fear and nourishes the soul with pure love. It dissolves doubts and gives her certainty. It takes away weakness and gives her fortitude. Even more, it makes her so daring with me that she attaches herself to my breasts, and she suckles and feeds herself, nor does she want any other food. And if she sees that, in suckling, nothing comes to her, and I allow this in order to excite her to the highest confidence, she neither gets tired, nor does she detach herself from my breast. On the contrary, she suckles more strongly. She knocks her head against my breast, and I laugh to myself, and I let her do it. So the trusting soul is my smile and my amusement. The one who has confidence in me loves me, esteems me, believes I am rich, powerful, immense. On the other hand, the one who has no confidence does not really love me. She dishonors me, believes I am poor, powerless, small. What an affront to my goodness. October 15th, 1919. The living in the divine will brings the state of security. Continuing in my usual state, I was thinking, how can it be? I am so bad. I am good at nothing. With the privations of my Jesus, I have reduced myself to such a state as to make even the stones cry, if it could be seen. And in spite of this, no doubts, no fears, either of judgment or of hell. What a horrifying state mine is. While I was thinking this, my lovable Jesus moved in my interior and told me, "My daughter, as soon as the soul enters into my volition and decides to live in it, all doubts, and all fears depart from her. It happens as to a daughter of a king, who, no matter how much people might say that she is not the daughter of her father, pays no heed. On the contrary, she goes on, proud, and says to everyone, "It is useless for you to tell me the contrary, to put doubts and fears in me. I am a true daughter of the king. He is my father. I live with him. Even more, his very kingdom is mine." So, among the many goods that the living in my will brings, it also brings the state of security. And since she makes what is mine her own, how can she fear what she possesses? Therefore, fear, doubt, hell, get lost and cannot find the door, the way, the key to enter into the soul. Even more, as the soul enters into the divine volition, she strips herself of herself, and I clothe her of me with royal garments, and these garments place on her the seal that she is my daughter. My kingdom, just as it is mine, is hers, and defending our rights, she takes part in judging and in condemning others. Therefore, how can you want to go fishing for fears? November 3rd, 1919. Participation in the pains of the state of victim of Jesus. I was worried about my poor state. The pain of his privation petrifies me, though I remain calm and all abandoned in my sweet Jesus. Heaven seems closed to me. As for the earth, I have not even known it for a long time, and if I don't know it, how can I hope for help? So I have not even the sweet hope of hoping for help from people of this poor world. If I did not have the sweet hope in my Jesus, in my life, in my hall, my only and sole support, I don't know what I would do. Then my always lovable Jesus, seeing that I could not take any more, came, and placing his holy hand on my forehead to give me strength, told me, "Poor daughter, daughter of my heart and of my pains, courage, do not lose heart. Nothing is over for you. On the contrary, when it seems it is over, then it begins. Of all that you think, nothing is true. On the contrary, your present state is nothing other than one point of the state of victim of my humanity. Oh, how many times my humanity found itself in these painful constraints. It was identified with my divinity. Even more, it was one with it. Yet my divinity, that held all the power over it, and demanded from it expiation for the whole human family, made me feel the denial, the oblivion, the rigors, the detachment that all the human nature deserved. These pains were the most bitter for me, and the more identified I was with the divinity, the more painful it was for me to feel the detachment while being united. To be loved and to feel forgotten, honored and to experience denial, holy and to see myself covered with all sins. What contrast, what pains, so much so that in order to suffer this, there was a miracle of my omnipotence. Now, my justice wants the renewal of these pains of my humanity. And who could ever feel them, if not the one whom I had identified with me, honored so much, to the point of calling her to live in the height of my volition, in which, from the center of it, she takes all parts of all generations, unites them together, and repairs me, loves me, substitutes for all creatures. And while she does this, she feels the oblivion, the denial, the detachment of he who forms her very life. These are pains that only your Jesus can calculate, but in certain circumstances they are necessary to me, so much so that I am forced to hide you more within me, so as not to let you feel all the bitterness of the pain. And while I hide you, I repeat what my humanity did and suffered. Therefore calm yourself. This state shall end, to make you pass on to other steps of my humanity. When you feel that you can take no more, abandon yourself more in me, and you shall feel your Jesus praying, suffering, repairing. And you follow me. I shall be the actor, and you the spectator. And when you are cheered, you shall take the part of actor, and I shall be the spectator. So we shall alternate with each other. December 6, 1919. The soul in the divine will gives God the love that lost souls do not give him. God, in creating man, left him free and gave him the power to do the good he wants. I don't feel the strength to write of my painful fortunes. I shall just say a few words that my sweet Jesus told me, and that I wasn't even thinking of putting on paper. But Jesus, reproaching me for this, made me make up my mind to write them. Now, I remember that one night I was doing the adoration to my crucified Jesus, and was saying to him, "My love, in your will I find all generations, and I, in the name of the whole human family, adore you, kiss you, repair you for all. Your wounds, your blood, I give to all, so that all may find their salvation. And if the lost souls can no longer benefit from your most holy blood, nor love you, I myself take it for them, so as to do myself what they should do. I do not want your love to remain defrauded in anything on the part of creatures. I want to make up, repair you, love you for all, from the first to the last man." While I was saying this and other things, my sweet Jesus extended his arms around my neck, and clasping all of me, told me, "My daughter, echo of my life, while you were praying, my mercy softened, and my justice lost sharpness. And not only in the present time, but also in the future time, because your prayer shall remain in act in my will. And by virtue of it, my mercy, softened, shall flow more abundantly, and my justice shall be less rigorous. Not only this, but I shall hear the note of the love of the lost souls, and my heart shall feel toward you a love of special tenderness, finding in you the love that these souls owed me. And I shall pour into you the graces that I had prepared for them." Another time he told me, My daughter, I love the creature so much that in creating the heavens, the stars, the sun, and all nature, I left no freedom to them. So the heavens can add not one star, nor remove one, nor can the sun lose or add a single drop of light. But in creating man, I left him free. Even more, I wanted him together with me, creating the stars, the sun, to embellish the heaven of his soul. And as he would do good, or exercise himself in the virtues, I would give him the power to form for himself stars and the most splendid suns. And the more good he would do, the more stars he would form, and the greater the intensity of love and of sacrifice, the more splendor and light he would add to his suns. And I, spreading myself also in the heaven of his soul, would say to him, "My son, the more beautiful you want to make yourself, the more pleasure you give me. Even more, I love your beauty so much that I push you, I teach you, and as soon as you make up your mind, I run, and together with you I renew the creative power and give you the power to do the good you want. I love you so much that I did not make you a slave, but free. But alas, how much abuse of this power that I gave you! You have the courage to convert it into your ruin and into offense to your Creator. December 15th, 1919. The Divine Will, font of good and of sanctity. I was saying to my always lovable Jesus, since you don't want to tell me anything, tell me at least that you forgive me if I have offended you in anything. And he immediately answered, "What do you want me to forgive you for? The one who does my will and lives in it has lost the font, the seed, the origin of evil, because my will contains the font of sanctity, the seed of all goods, the eternal origin, immutable and inviolable. So the one who lives in this font is holy, and evil has no more contact with her. And if evil seems to appear in anything, the origin, the seed, is holy. Evil does not take root. And this happens also in me. When my justice forces me to strike the creatures, in appearance it seems that I do evil to them, making them suffer. And how many things they tell me, to the point of saying that I am unjust. But this cannot be, because the origin, the seed of evil, is not in me. On the contrary, in that pain that I send, there is in me a more tender and more intense love. Only the human will is font that contains the seed of all evils, and if it seems to do some good, that good is infected, and whoever touches that good shall remain infected and poisoned. Then I continued my course, that is, substituting for all, as Jesus has taught me, and as mentioned somewhere else in my writings. And while I was doing this, he told me, "My daughter, as you keep repeating what I have taught you, I feel wounded by my own love. When I taught you this, I wounded you with my eternal love. When you repeat it for me, you wound me. And by even just remembering my words and teachings, It is wounds that you send me. If you love me, wound me always. December 26, 1919. To live in the divine will is sacrament, and surpasses all the sacraments together. I was thinking to myself, how can it be that doing the will of God surpasses the very sacraments? And Jesus, moving in my interior, told me, my daughter, and why are the sacraments called sacraments? Because they are sacred. They have the value and the power to confer grace, sanctity. However, these sacraments act according to the dispositions of the creatures, so much so that many times they remain even fruitless, without being able to confer the goods they contain. Now, my will is sacred and holy, and it contains altogether the virtue of all the sacraments. Not only this, but it does not have to work in order to dispose the soul to receive the goods that this will of mine contains. In fact, as soon as the soul has disposed herself to do my will, she has already disposed herself by herself, and my will, finding everything prepared and disposed, even at the cost of any sacrifice, communicates itself to the soul without delay, pours the goods it contains, and forms the heroes, the martyrs of the divine volition, the portents most unheard of. And besides, what do the sacraments do if not unite the soul with God? What is to do my will? Isn't it perhaps to unite the will of the creature with her Creator? To dissolve oneself in the eternal volition, the nothing ascending to the all, and the all descending into the nothing? It is the noblest, the most divine, the purest, the most beautiful, the most heroic act that the creature can do. Ah, yes, I confirm it to you. I repeat it. My will is sacrament, and it surpasses all the sacraments together, but in a more admirable way, without mediation from anyone, without any matter. The sacrament of my will is formed between my will and that of the soul. The two wills tie themselves together and form the sacrament. My will is life, and the soul is already disposed to receive life. It is holy, and she receives sanctity. It is strong, and she receives strength, and so with all the rest. On the other hand, my other sacraments, how much they have to work to dispose souls, if they manage at all. And these channels that I left to my church, how many times they remain beaten up, despised, trampled upon. And some use them to sully themselves, and they turn them against me, to offend me. Ah, if you knew the enormous sacrileges committed in the sacrament of confession, and the horrendous abuses of the sacrament of the Eucharist, you would cry with me for the great pain. Ah, yes, only the sacrament of my will can sing glory and victory. It is full in its effects, and untouchable by creature's offense. In fact, in order to enter into my will, she must lay down her will, her passions, and only then does my will bend down to her, invests her, identifies her with itself, and makes portents of her. This is why when I speak about my will, I become festive. I never end. My joy is full. nor does any bitterness enter between me and the soul. But for the other sacraments, my heart swims in sorrow, and man has turned them into font of bitternesses for me, while I gave them as many fonts of grace. You have reached the end of the Book of Heaven, Volume 12, Part 14. Fiat.